What's up, guys? Adam back again with the RVA Returns. This time coming at you with another card spotlight. Today we're going to go over Opus 1 Sazh. Alright, so let's get right into it like we usually do, and let's just read this guy's text. So, he's a 3CP fire backup. Tap, choose one forward, deal it 2,000 damage. Sazh does not activate during your next active phase. And if you have cast a card named Brynhildr, it instead deals 4,000 damage, and he still doesn't activate during your next active phase. So I actually think Sazh is an extremely underrated card. You can use other cards to make him pretty powerful. I mean, his effect is just a tap. He does have the drawback that he will not ready during your next active phase, but you can actually kind of negate that drawback with other cards. As well as Brynhildr is just a really good card right now because of K-Tuna. So you're going to be playing Brynhildr in your fire decks anyways. So you can actually use this guy to start doing a couple multiple pings of 4K in one turn, which can be really, really good at taking out your opponent's forwards. So here's a list that I think can effectively use Sazh through pinging as well as pressuring with just like really cheap forwards to threaten their bigger forwards. So let's just start off with Godot. So he's going to make your smaller guys a lot bigger, much more threatening, and then threaten haste to any guy that you play as long as he remains on board, which is really, really scary. So then the 2 CP forwards that we're playing are Lednar. He's just really extremely annoying to get rid of and can pressure as well and is a great blocker. We have Ninja, I think one of the best cards with Godot. The fact that he deals 2K to a blocker without targeting, and he has first strike. So he's going to be a 6K with Godot. He's going to deal 2K to a blocker. That's going to kill anything 8K outright without any combat tricks or what have you. And then on top of that, we're looking at like having the Sazh backup that can ping as well as other ping effects. So this guy's going to be an all-star as long as you can get Godot out, and no one's going to want to block him. Then we got Paul. He's just really annoying. He demands removal. We have ways to recur him back to your hand in this deck, which is just really good. No Phoenix in this deck, but I think either Phoenix could be really good here if you can find room. But I wanted to have more access to First Strike and the other summons just to get rid of stuff, as well as being able to abuse K-Tuna that much more. However, you could just take out the Bahamut's, I think, and probably replace with Phoenixes 4 CP so that you can cast those off the K-Tuna, and that will be extremely good as well. We got Red 13. He's just a 5K with First Strike, but with Godot, he's going to get buffed. And again, we have a lot of other pingy things going on, so that First Strike is going to be a very, very relevant keyword. We got Y'Stola here. Again, she's pinging things multiple times sometimes, which is great, and a lot of our things are going to have First Strike, and we have summons that are going to give First Strike, which is going to be really, really good for us. And then we got Ranger. He just pings the entire board, which can be really good. It's going to make that other First Strike relevant. It's going to allow you to kill stuff before blocks, so when you swing with them. If you can party attack with 2 Rangers, that's going to be 4K going across the board. That means Sazh is going to have his work cut out for him. If you can do that plus cast a Brynhildr and have Sazh out already, you're going to be in business, and it's going to be really hard to get rid of. Then we got Zidane. He's just a really annoying forward right now. Really hard to deal with. Also demands an answer just like Paul. You got to kill this guy as soon as you can. He's going to start ripping gas out of your hand, and you're going to feel really terrible if an early Zidane hits the board and you don't have an answer. Then we got Asura. Again, it gets back any 2-drop that we want, which is a lot of our deck. It can activate 2 forwards for surprise blocks, or if like we're playing ice and they happen to dull them, whatnot. The one that's also super relevant is you can activate 5 backups. That includes Sazh. So even though Sazh doesn't activate during your active phase, that doesn't mean that you can't activate him outside of your active phase, even if he's under that kind of frozen, I guess, if you will. Even though he's not technically frozen, that's essentially what it is. Then we got Choco Mog. This is going to search out our Mog 11s and our No-No, which I'm going to go over in a second. You got 2 Belias. Again, that First Strike keyword is going to be really, really good in this deck because of how much pinging we're doing and how many small forwards we have. So they're not going to want to block any of our guys just because you might lose your 5 CP to a 2 CP, and that's going to feel terrible. Then we got 3 Brynhildrs, of course, with Sazh. It's going to make Sazh do 4K. This is going to be played with Vermilion Bird, which is going to become an 8K 3 CP summon with an EX burst, which is just awesome. You're going to kill a lot of 4 CPs with that as soon as K-Tuna hits the board, which is just amazing. And then your primary K-Tuna summon is Bahamut. This is typically the K-Tuna package that you see where you're running 2 Bahamut. That's what you're going to typically get off your K-Tuna, and then it's going to just power up your Brynhildr for the rest of the game. We got 2 Layaks. Again, with Sazh active going into your opponent's turn, they're going to be afraid to attack. If you have a Brynhildr in hand, you're going to threaten to deal 8K, because what you do is as soon as they swing, you're going to put Saz's ability on the stack. You're going to deal 4k to something, assuming you've casted a Brynhildr. Layak will then trigger, readying your Sazh. You're going to put 4k on something else. If you have an Asura or something like that, or any other way to ready Sazh, you're going to put another 4k that turn, and it's just going to get out of hand. Then I like the one of Manifest and Warmech. So this is going to choose a character, and if it deals damage to a forward, you're going to increase the damage by 2,000. So you can target backups and monsters with this. So what you do is you can Warmech your Sazh, and now your Sazh is going to deal 6k when you do Brynhildr. Or you can Warmech your Ninja, and now your Ninja is going to deal 4k whenever something blocks it. Or your Rangers are going to deal 4k whenever it attacks. So it's going to be really good to just get this out, and even though you have to pay 1 fire for it every turn, it's going to do a lot of great things for you. So then we got the backups. We got Archer. Minwoo is going to be a problem card that we're going to go over in the last segment of this video. You got to be able to get rid of it. I almost want to see 3 here, but it was really hard for me to find room. We got 3 Moogle 12s. This lets us search for any card in the deck. So if we need to see Sazh, we get Sazh. If we need to see K-Tuna, we get K-Tuna. If we need that Godot, we get Godot. Maybe you need that summon in a pinch. Maybe you want to see your one of Warmech. There's just so many things that this card does. This card's amazing, and honestly, it makes me want to run more Choco-Mog, but again, this list is kind of tight, and you can go a different direction with this list. Like, I think Sazh can be good in another version of this deck. This is just the version that we happen to settle on. And then I got a one of Red Mage, Opus 1, just a staple backup, can be good really late game to start using that ability to force it where things can't block, and it's going to just be a good early backup that starts producing you fire CP, which is never a bad thing. And then 1 Sage, again, just to threaten with haste early. Maybe you got that turn 1 Paul into Sage, so you can develop a backup and threaten to mill them for, 5 cards plus damage, which is, that's going to hurt. They could see cards off the top that they didn't want to see, and then they have to answer Paul immediately, or he's going to swing again the next turn. And a lot of decks don't have a lot of answers for Paul as far as forwards, so they're going to really have to waste a summon turn 1 or overpay for a summon turn 1, and that doesn't feel great. Then we got 3 Aerith. This is going to protect our forwards. Also, it's going to ready our stuff if we have Planet Protector, as well as protect them at the same time. She's essentially free, which is great. You can play her on a turn where Sazh is frozen, and then ready him and allow him to use his abilities, which is very nice. Then we got another card that works great with Sazh, which is No-No. So this is going to say every time you attack, you're basically going to untap Sazh. That's essentially what this is. You're rarely going to untap other things. Maybe like some other tricky type plays where you need access to certain mana, or maybe you have 2 Moogle 11s in your hand and 1 on the field. But most of the time, you're going to attack, you're going to ready Sazh, and Sazh is going to be machine gunning stuff down for 2Ks every time you swing. And with First Strike, that's going to be really, really good. So this deck has a lot of things that are just really tricky, and I think a lot of people aren't playing around these cards right now. So you're going to catch a lot of people off guard. And then, of course, we got the 3 Sazh. We want to see him every game. Ideally, turn 2 is when you want to play this guy if you can. Maybe throw a Godot in and then just start threatening from there. I mean, you can play this deck fast, but you can also play this deck slow. So there's a lot of versatility there in this deck as well. And then we got 2 Vermilion Bird Lassie K-Tuna. She's going to just let us go out and get one of our summons. I mean, she's expensive, but she's basically casting a 4 CP summon for free. And then makes it where all our fire summons are going to deal an extra 1k. So that's the deck. I think it's actually really powerful. I like this deck a lot, and I think I want to just keep playing this as much as I can, because it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of lines. There's a ton of things you can do, and I really, really do think Sazh is an underrated card. So per usual, let's go ahead and get into cards that give Sazh trouble. So obviously, first up we have here is Minwoo, who says if you're not taking lethal damage, basically, it's going to be 0. That's kind of bad for us because there's not a lot of 4K forwards that are going to get blown up all the time, except like Vikings and Paul and Rion J. So, I mean, I guess there's a fair bit, but there, you want to be able to kill those AKs with Sazh, and you can't do that with this card on the field. So that's why the archers are in the deck. You're going to always target this guy if you can, or hit their anthems, things that make it awkward for you to ping them off. So yeah, I mean, again, this is still going to be a problem because you need to see those archers every game, and that's, again, where Mog comes into play. It allows you to search for any card in your deck, so you can get that archer, and then maybe you're cut off for a turn, but then you can archer down the Minwoo and then go back to your business. That can be a little pricey, which, again, is why Minwoo is bad for Sazh, but we do have ways in the deck around this card. And then another problem card is this guy that's in a ton of decks right now, and that's Dodaluma. He's just a really good card in general. And we're dealing ping damage to everything generally when we try to kill him, or even our summons are dealing damage. So this guy's going to kill a lot of things back, and that's going to be a problem. You want to deal with him before you get a lot of stuff on the board so they can't just kill everything back. But theoretically, that's not going to happen all the time. It's going to be really hard to kill this guy efficiently in this deck right now, as is. So maybe if you're running into this guy a lot more, you might have to have just some more direct answers to him. Because as of right now, there's not a whole lot, and that's just not good for business. So yeah, you plan on seeing this guy a lot, and he's definitely a problem for the deck. Yeah, then next up we have a familiar face. He's been in every card spotlight that we had, because any card that's fun, this guy typically will shut down. That's the Emperor. He's going to make it where Sazh just doesn't work. Sazh is just a 3 CP, tap for fire CP. That's all he does. However, we have ways to deal with this. We get K-Tuna online. Bahamut kills this guy. If K-Tuna is already online when they play this, we Brett Hilder this, and then we just go about our business. However, those are really our two big answers outside of just threatening with forwards with Godot and Haste and Ninja and stuff like that. But that doesn't feel as good, because then if they just start playing other forwards behind Emperor, it's going to be really hard for you to get through if they can create that kind of wall and just not block with the Emperor. But again, he's a problem card. He shuts off a lot of our cards that we want to use, and that's bad for us. So any water text that's running the Minwu, the card before that we went over, and this guy, you can't even archer the Minwu at that point. So it's going to be a little rough. So you need to find answers quickly, and if this guy is in your meta, maybe you want to think about upping it to 3 Bahamuts. Maybe you want to put in some more forwards that have answers for the Emperor and what have you, because he's always going to be a problem. Next up we have Camlanot. This guy hits the board and we can't deal with him the turn that he comes out. If he understands our deck, they're just going to call fire, and we're not going to have a lot of ways to deal with him. So maybe, again, if you're seeing this guy a lot, maybe you have to run Chaos Walkers or something. You can pressure Cam a lot better than you can pressure Emperor, because at least Cam doesn't shut off all your abilities, so you can just kind of ping the things around Cam and force Cam to block unfavorably. But a lot of our stuff doesn't really do well into Cam. We're going to have to get like a Godot online and then attack with our first strike guys and just kind of threaten to kill Cam if he blocks. So he can be a kind of a wall and a problem for us to get around, but there are answers, and he's definitely not as bad as the previous 2 cards. But again, he's everywhere, he's in a lot of decks, and he's definitely a problem. And then next up we have the 3 CP Hecaton Chair. This is seeing a pretty decent amount of play now, and it's going to break Sazh straight up. We don't really have much ways to protect Sazh in this deck. You could play Dodge, who's a 2 CP fire backup that says Sazh can't be the target of summons and abilities, which will protect the backup Sazh as well. And we might as well kind of throw Archer in this bin too, because Sazh gets hit by both of the prevalent backup destructions, which is Archer and this card. So you just have to be watch out for that. If you think they play this card, maybe hold on to your Sazes so that you can just play another Sazh and they destroy your Sazh. It could just be a problem for you. You might just have to win that game out with your Godot and your forward pressure and not really do a lot of the fun, cool Sazh tricks. But that can be really frustrating, because the deck is essentially built around that, to rely on those tricks to threaten with these smaller forwards. And yeah, so that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for our 4th card spotlight here with Opus 1 Sazh. I think he's a really fun card. I think the deck is actually really powerful. Hope you have fun using the deck. If you can, take it to your locals. Let us know how you do. Let us know any improvements you think you can make on the deck. If you hate it, let us know. As always, like, favorite, subscribe. We thank everyone for listening to our content and all the support that we get every week. Yeah, so I guess with that, I'll sign off. See you guys later.